All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Tarot and Rune for 1 June 2018. We are on the first day of June. Isn't that cool? Got a weird glare. Must be coming from the window over there. Well, I'm Jan Erickson. I write the blog Stepping Aside over at imsteppingaside.com. Used to be called eternallydazedandconfused.com. And then, I decided, well, I'm not, not really. So I changed it. I did a blog post, I think, called Stepping Aside or some such thing. And I thought, that really describes the name of the blog a whole lot better. I hopefully last night was our last night to cover everything. We went out this morning and took everything off the plants. And I haven't been out to look to see once the sun hits the zucchini. I don't know. It doesn't always show until the sun hits it that something's been frosted. So, but so far everything looks good. I didn't get really any big mom aromas after my neighbors flooded my dome last year. They were in the center of it, and I had put out some plants that were like 2.5 feet high, some of them, and there was about maybe 8 inches of them showing above the water. Yeah, we have hugel beds around the interior of the dome, around the, the edges of it there, and so it just made a perfect pool. Well, there it goes. Several this time. And it took all day to pump it out, and they just never recovered. Some of them were about 1 foot high. I didn't have all of them were 2.5 feet high. Some were still really small when I put them in, and they were, submerged. So I did everything I could. And I mean, there were a few green tomatoes on there eventually, but they never did ripen. So I'm really hopeful this year because they're up around the edge of the dome instead of down inside. And so maybe. It's interesting when you have flood irrigation. If people don't take their irrigation because maybe they got hay down or something, they're cutting hay, and so you pull the water off of it. Well, the problem with that is other people need to use those ditches to get their water, and if they don't, and it keeps going in a place that someone else doesn't know about, it can cause real damage, and typically we're the ones that get damaged, so that's always fun to deal with. Especially when they stand there and you're telling them, oh yeah, this just happened. And they don't tell you, yeah, that's my water. I did that to you. I'm so sorry. Can I pay for it? Stuff like that. So that's kind of, each year you learn what you have to do to protect yourself. And geez, we've been here since 1981. So we learn something new every single year. So that's the way it is when you've got property and odd ways of watering. So in any event, let's count 13. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13. Let's see what we have today. Oh, it's a major card, major arcana, the Wheel of Fortune, the 10th card. So that reduces to 1 in terms of numerology. And so you have to stop and think, what is fortune? It could be money. It can be all the experiences that we've gained along our journey so far. The majors are essentially the soul archetypes of our journey into form. And basically this shows the cycle of life and the unexpected luck. You've got the, I don't know if they're called cherubim around here. Pagans and witches have refer to the wheel of the year and the cycles of life. Summer solstice is tomorrow, also called Litha. And we're moving into, full growing season. Well, the high desert's trying to anyway. It's questionable around here. You can have all seasons in one day in Central Oregon. It's true. In July, no less. It can happen all in one day. It can freeze, it can snow, it can rain, it can have ground striking lightning, during the day, have heat so high that, one year we had golf ball size hail. It was insane. We don't usually get that though, thankfully. That would be awful. But basically, this is a positive process and cycles and synchronicity and but a lot of the time it's referring to wealth, knowing how to receive wealth, creating wealth. Sometimes it's just called fortune. Sometimes it's the wheel of fortune. In traditional decks, it's the wheel of fortune. But I just like to look at it as a more esoteric way instead of, money. I just like to look at this in terms of all the experiences we've gained so far. But then again, it could also mean prosperity. So, maybe with luck, my garden is out of the danger zone now. But basically, it's like, yeah, we have cycles. You're gonna have different things happening with the weather, and you got to deal with it. So now perhaps we're moving into a better, warmer time. But around here at nighttime, you just never know. But if it's a sense of completion that we've got, what have we completed? What are we going to be moving into next? Maybe the runes will tell us. So the Wheel of Fortune can mean several things, really. Oh, Gebo. Balanced energy exchange. Because when you think about it, don't you have that here? See, right there in the X in the middle? The thing about, if you've ever done a biorhythm chart, you see that it looks at different things. It'll look at intuition, physical health, emotional, intellectual, all kinds of things, and you'll see these little sine wave like things. And depending on where you are, intellect might be high, emotion might be low. Who knows? Here, it's telling us to move in a balanced way, to exchange in a balanced way, exchange energy in a balanced way with others, and to not get too caught up in the highs and lows of life. I think I've talked about that a couple of times already. That sometimes it's best there's a system called human design, and in terms of the personality types, you've got manifestor, projector, reflector, manifesting generator, and generator. Most people are generator types. They're the people that do the work of the world. I'm a generator type. But what generator types, depending on what you are, you probably don't want to make decisions in the peaks and the valleys of your biorhythm, right? Because you can't necessarily, you're too influenced by the down cycle and too influenced by the up cycle, I guess. Maybe you don't really see, maybe you're too depressed. You can't really see the truth. You're too high. You can't. It's like bipolar. If you get into the wild swings of it, then maybe you don't want to make decisions during that time. And that's what Gebo reminds me of. Is that we want to make sure that we do things in a balanced fashion. It's a water rune. It's the 7th rune of the Elder Futhark. And I talked about this, I think, yesterday, where 7, to me, is a number of balance. It's also a number of divinity and magic and things like that. But I think that 7, you've got 3 and 3 with 1 in the middle, right? And that adds to 7, so that it basically, to me, creates a scale. And so Gebo, in a very real way, is just an expression of that, being the 7th rune of the Elder Futhark. It also is known as the gift. It promotes generous exchange between people. It can indicate that something's going to be given to you. So if you have the Wheel of Fortune, you could be thinking about, well, maybe I'm going to get an inheritance, or maybe some kind of gift. If it's money, it could be in-kind goods, it could be some kind of asset. But it could also be something, the gift of wisdom. It could be something more soul-centered, where you're understanding the gift of cycles, basically, in our lives. And you're not getting too caught up in each given moment, but you're seeing the bigger picture of things in a balanced way. This is a really good, it can indicate marriage, it can indicate a union, a binding together, bonding. But basically, it's about balanced energy exchange. And we think, again, if we think in terms only of exchange, in terms of what we exchange between self and other, we forget what we exchange within ourself, the exchange between spirit and form within. And so we want to keep that as what we actually want to keep, in a nice balance, because when that's in balance, then everything else sort of falls into place, doesn't it? If we're out of sorts, if we're not really, we're just too much one way or the other, we really don't function too well. It's really better to try to keep an even keel and come from a place of calm and centeredness. And then everything else, like I say, just tends to fall into place. So this may be less about something material gain that we might indeed get today, or create today. It could simply be about having, a little more balance in terms of our emotions, given that it's a water rune. So water is emotions. And so maybe we need to focus on having some more balanced emotions. We're coming up on the weekend. Maybe we're going to visit with friends or family, and maybe, it could be a stressful time. Who knows? But basically, maybe the link between forces that Gebo creates is maybe the link between higher self energies and the ego, to try to have the higher self inform the ego a little more. So I don't know, but I think that's what it is. So I just find it so interesting, though, that we've got, some synchronicity there in terms of the card itself, because you've got Gebo right here. Well, you can see it. You can see the X. I can't do this backwards, can I? There's an X. Look at that. See? It's not easy in the morning, is it? But yeah, I mean, we have this nice balance in terms of our cycles. So it could be seasonal cycles. It could be inner cycles. Keep the mood level, and maybe it'll be a better day. I know yesterday for me, I was a little, I was worried and everything about the frost, and of course, when we put the frost blankets around the dome, it's 15-mile-an-hour winds. I mean, what is it? I know we're windy here, but can't it just calm down? Fortunately, this morning, though, when it was supposedly frosting, it was only 2, so that's better. Here, it's not so much the temperature, but it's the wind that gets us. And so, in any event, I was nervous and worried and all of that, and I just, because it was hopefully the last one, it's like, oh my God, are we going to make it or are we not? And so it looks like we have, and yay. So I hate when my plants die. It's awful. It's just emotional. So there we go. Another emotional day, but hopefully I'll be able to keep it in balance, and so will the rest of us. So, oh, I know. The other thing I want to mention, if you haven't been over to onstellar.com, it's a new social media platform, and I'm on it, and a lot of people are on it now. And you can either find me as Jan Erickson or as Mistress Jan. I'm Mistress Jan on Twitter. So I decided to keep that same handle over there. Um, but you know, check it out. It's interesting. It's if you're into UFO stuff, if you're into you know, esoteric things, it's a really fun place to be. Lots of great people are on it, and they all follow you back. You know, if you friend somebody, send them a friend request, they friend you back. Um, it's just a lot of fun, and it gives you an insight to other kinds of thinking. Law of One stuff is on there. You get a lot of exopolitics stuff on there. But it's a fun place. It's a fun platform. It's different. And I just, I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting. So I would go over there and check it out. It's called onstellar.com. If you haven't been there, go see. You might find that some of that stuff resonates with you. It does with me. And, I'm really enjoying myself over there. So head over to onstellar.com and check it out. I mean, we're all on social media anyway. What's one more? Besides, there's not a lot of nonsense over there. It's just a lot of people exchanging ideas, and it doesn't seem to have the vitriol that some of the other platforms are suffering from these days. So in any event, have a lovely Friday. Have a great weekend. I'll be back on Monday. And thanks so much for watching, and blessed be.